Most people assume wars happening on the other side of the world have nothing to do with their daily lives. If you're an entrepreneur in the United States, it can feel like something happening thousands of miles away shouldn't affect you at all. And to be fair, for most people, it doesn't affect their day in an obvious way. You still wake up, go to work, run your business, talk to clients, and handle operations just like any other day. But experienced business owners understand something important. In today's global economy, events happening across the world can quietly ripple through markets, supply chains, and costs in ways that eventually reach your business. A geopolitical conflict involving Iran is a good example of this. Iran sits in one of the most strategically important regions on the planet for global energy supply. A large portion of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow shipping route in the Middle East that connects major oil producers to the rest of the world. When tensions rise in that region, markets react almost immediately. Oil prices can spike, shipping routes can slow down, insurance costs for cargo can rise. And when energy becomes more expensive, it doesn't stay contained to the oil industry. It spreads. Fuel costs increase, transportation becomes more expensive, manufacturing costs rise, shipping becomes slower or more expensive. Even everyday goods can become more costly to produce and move. For a normal consumer, that might show up as higher gas prices or more expensive groceries, but for a business owner, the effects can be much bigger. If you run a trucking company, fuel costs can suddenly eat into your margins. If you're in construction or manufacturing, materials may increase in price. If you operate a service business, your vendors may raise prices to cover their own increased costs. And this is where something interesting happens. The businesses that struggle the most during uncertain economic moments are usually not the ones that lack customers. It's the ones that run into cash flow pressure. Because while costs can rise quickly, payments from clients often move much slower. Imagine your company completes a $40,000 project for a client this month. The work is done, the invoice is sent, and everything looks good on paper. But your client pays on net 30 or net 60 terms. That means the cash from that job might not arrive for another 1 or 2 months. Now imagine fuel costs increase, supplier prices rise, operating expenses grow because the broader market is reacting to global instability. Suddenly, you're in a situation where your costs are increasing today, but your revenue is still sitting in unpaid invoices waiting to be collected weeks later. This is one of the reasons experienced operators pay very close attention to cash flow timing. Revenue is important, but timing matters just as much as the amount. The companies that navigate uncertainty well usually focus on maintaining liquidity. In simple terms, they make sure they have access to the cash they need to keep operating even when markets become unpredictable. One strategy many businesses use is improving how they manage their accounts receivable. Instead of treating invoices as paperwork that eventually turns into money, professional operators often think of them as assets because once the work is completed and the invoice is issued, that money has already been earned. It's just sitting in a waiting period while the payment moves through the system. In situations where operating costs are rising or markets feel uncertain, having access to the value inside those invoices can make a big difference. This is where tools like invoice factoring come into play. Invoice factoring allows businesses to unlock a portion of the value tied up in their unpaid invoices instead of waiting 30, 60, or sometimes even 90 days for payment. That means the business can continue paying suppliers, covering operating costs, investing in growth, or simply maintaining stability during uncertain economic periods. At Advancely, this is exactly what we help businesses do. We work with companies that invoice their clients and help them turn those unpaid invoices into working capital so they can keep moving forward without being stuck waiting on slow payments. Because when global markets become unpredictable, the businesses that stay strong are usually the ones that manage cash flow the most effectively. They plan for volatility, they maintain flexibility, and they make sure their operations aren't dependent on perfect timing from every client payment. If you're running a business that invoices clients and you're curious how much working capital your unpaid invoices might unlock, you can try the free calculator from Advancely. Just enter your invoice amount and get a quick estimate of what funding could look like for your business.